reflects on relation between the Iron Age necropolis and settlements in the West Morava Valley, Serbia. The case study of the Mound necropolis in Mrčajevci near Čačak. The upper stream of the river West Morava is situated in western Serbia, on its border with the central part of the country. It is characterized, on the one side, by the mountainous area on the west, where the mountain streams and smaller rivers make the West Morava River, ending with a wide river valley surrounded by small plains and low hills on the east. Along with its geomorphological features, this region represents the final area with the Bronze and Iron Ages sculptures, typical for their developed mortuary practice emphasized by barrow erection. In the same time, central and southern parts of Serbia demonstrated much different cultural pattern. The archaeological researches in the region of upper stream of the river West Morava and its neighboring area last for more than 7 decades, and they were mainly focused on mounds. Their characteristic hemispherical appearance enables them easily recognizable in the landscape. Excavating mounds was a real hit, being that it usually provided a sure and a quite solid material. So far, there are more than 40 mounds excavated here, which dated back to the Bronze and Iron Ages, sometimes arranged in smaller necropolises. On the other hand, finding of a settlement is neither an easy nor a promising job, being that its traces are usually not visible on the surface, and only some lucky situation can reveal its existence. For these reasons, the researchers were rather turned to the mounds than to the other types of archaeological sites. When speaking of the Iron Age, situation can be characterized similarly as for the Bronze Age. There is no equal balance between necropolises and settlements. At least 13 mounds can be ascribed to this period, and the knowledge on funeral features are quite familiar. There were determined 3 types of funeral practice, every typical for certain social rank: ordinary, warriors, and aristocratic rank. Here should be emphasized the famous finding of 2 large mounds from Atenica near Čačak, where very rich and numerous grave goods were found into the large stone grave structures. A special place takes the larger mound of more than 2,400 processed and naturally shaped amber beads, while the remains of 2 chariots speak of developed ritual possibly determined to the emerging tribal elite. The unique and rich finding from Atenica represents one of the most important archaeological features, not only in this area, but in the Central Balkans region and even wider, representing a horizon of princely graves. We could not claim that the settlements were rather rare, but our present knowledge on them lies mainly on typical ceramic fragments usually found during the excavation initially aimed to investigate the early medieval hill forts in this area. These fragments were usually within the layers destroyed by later activities, so that we do not have any preserved Iron Age units there. These ceramics bear the characteristics of the first Iron Age, but they were chronologically uneven, spreading from the transitional period from the Bronze to the Iron Ages over the Basarabi horizon to the time of 6th and 5th century BC, where belong, for example, Atenica burial. To this group belong the settlements, the hill forts of Gradina in Grab, Vučkovica and Liška Ćava in Trgačevo, Sokolica in Ostra near Čačak, Trijeska, Brusnica and Gornja Crnuća near Gornji Milanovac. On the hill fort sites, beside the typical scattered ceramics, there was not any other unit dated to the Iron Age. Baluga near Čačak, Kovanluk and Konarevo near Kraljevo belong to the lowland settlement type situated in the West Morava valley. Possibly, thanks to this fact, they were spread on a bigger surface, while Kovanluk and Konarevo were even more extensively excavated but insufficiently published up to nowadays. To a certain extent, this picture was recently complemented by excavation of the Mound II at the site of Krnjine in Mrčajevci. This site is situated on the West Morava valley on its left flood-safe bank between the cities of Kraljevo and Čačak. Albeit the mound necropolises in this area usually consisted on several mounds, at the site of Krnjine there were preserved only 2 of them, possibly due to the intensive agriculture in the fertile West Morava valley. Because of this constant risk, we have organized, with the help of Serbian Ministry of Culture, the archaeological excavations during the 2018 and 2019. The smaller Mound I contained the central inhumation dated to the 6th-5th century BC. This date was established after the typology of 6 bronze and iron shank pins found within the central grave with the inhumed deceased. An adolescent male deceased, poorly preserved, was placed in an elongated dent grave structure made of compacted pebbles, along with the grave goods which consisted of the parts of a costume and a knife. Occasional findings and damaged pebble surfaces speak in favor of other additional grave units buried in the periphery. It is quite possible that they've been destroyed by modern agricultural works, being that they've been found quite shallow. Mound II had larger dimensions than Mound I and was approximately 200 meters distant. When its excavation started, we expected a similar, or at least nearly similar, situation as registered in the Mound I. Methodologically, the excavation started in a way distinctive for mounds, digging in the segments and leaving the cross-like control profiles. However, we realized very fast that northern part of the mound is totally sterile and that thin cultural layer appears in central and southern part. This situation changed the method and our approach to the site. Albeit alike in appearance to a mound, to our great surprise, it turned that a settlement with a certain habitat remains was found. Under the most prominent top of this mound-like structure, instead of the central grave as seen in the Mound I, there were preserved remains of pits. On the lower part of this mound-like structure that could be described as the mound periphery, the cultural layer was destroyed, possibly due to the deep tillage, so that a substantial amount of ceramic fragments was dispersed in surroundings. At the most preserved part, we found the remains of 13 shallow pits, irregularly placed, filled with darker soil, which has not been easily distinguished from surrounding layer. The pits contained an even amount of ceramics and daub. One revealed even small amount of fragmented bones. Another surprise was the stylistic and typological features of ceramics, which did not completely fit in the 6th and 5th century BC, which corresponds to the Mound I. The most of ceramics from the Mound II should be dated to the 4th and 3rd century BC or even later, according to the fragments with Latin characteristics. There were as well a lot of stone tools and very rare iron items that was very surprisingly for the pre-Roman period. This could be understood as a poor local community that emerged on the Halšad base and permitted the innovation concerning the certain amount of typical Tène ceramics vessels that dates the whole unit. Even having this small part of a possible dwelling, it is not easy to reconstruct its original shape and purpose. The shallow pits could be ascribed to the post bases. A certain amount of flattened and painted daub probably belonged to a temporary modest house, but with no further details on its characteristics. These questions should be resolved only by additional and focused excavation of remaining surfaces of this site. It has to be emphasized that the so-called Mound II at the site of Krnjine in Mrčajevci represents a particular finding not just for being one of rarely excavated settlement, but for belonging to a period almost completely unknown in the wider region. On this way, it seems that these excavations slightly revealed another feature of human activities in this territory, making it more understandable and attractive topic for future projects and researches. However, the results obtained by excavation of mounds at the site of Krnjine in Mrčajevci opened other questions relevant for making further plans on identification, valorization, and excavation of settlements in named region, being that they definitely represent the missing category. This experience could be a good remark on many possibilities that could occur and an example on various appearance of different archaeological sites. At the end, we send many greetings from Čačak, Serbia.